From 2011 to 2016, Florida failed to take a single action against any employer to enforce wage and hour laws.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
So the last thing that I wanted to talk about is another article from McKenna Schuler in the Orlando Weekly. She's a staff writer for them, and she just continues to put out really good stuff that is, just hitting stories from angles that other people in the media are not going to be looking at it from, and then also, coming out, thinking about totally new stories that other people in the media aren't talking about. And the thing that she wrote an article about last week was the Florida Department of Labor, or the lack of one. Because in the early 2000s, Jeb Bush, please clap, he abolished the Department of Labor and Economic Security. And they completed that demolition in 2002. And since then, they're just in the state of Florida, according to McKenna Schuler, there has not really been much debate about a resurrection of the Department of Labor or what consequences there have been because of a lack of a Department of Labor. And so she digs into a little bit of the wage theft issue. And this is something that we have talked about over and over on the show. Multiple studies have shown that wage theft is, in fact, a larger issue than basically all other property theft combined. And that wage theft, she says in her article, can encompass everything from failing to pay workers at least minimum wage, so that's paying them below minimum wage, or stealing a worker's tips, failing to pay overtime, asking employees to work off the clock before or after their shift ends, and it's just really any kind of underpayment other than what has been agreed to, other than what the worker is legally entitled to. And so she cites a study by the Economic Policy Institute that showed that between 2017 and 2020, more than $3 billion in stolen wages were recovered by the U.S. Department of Labor and state departments of labor. So this is just the, we all understand that wage theft is a much bigger problem than actually what gets recovered by these departments, right? Most of it goes unreported. A lot of times people don't even know that they're being stolen from, that their bosses are stealing from them every day, and they don't realize it. But the issue, one issue that arises because Florida does not have a Department of Labor is that, yes, the U.S. Department of Labor can enforce minimum wage laws, but only the federal minimum wage. And so they cannot enforce Florida's state minimum wage, which is higher than the federal minimum wage at $11 an hour, to be $12 an hour next year and $15 an hour by 2026. So the U.S. Department of Labor has no authority to enforce the state's minimum wage. And a 2021 report from the Florida Policy Institute shared that minimum wage violations in Florida doubled after the state raised its minimum wage in 2005, now affecting 17% of Floridians' low-wage workforce, or roughly 250,000 Florida workers each year on average. I mean, this is just a really, really big thing. And so, so here we have a higher state minimum wage, but we don't have a Department of Labor to enforce it. And so what do? Well, you can't file a complaint with the U.S. Department of Labor because as long as you're over 725, then they can't do anything for you. And so the only thing that is left is you can secure a lawyer yourself and sue them in court, which, of course, somebody making less than $11 an hour, it's going to be super easy for them to hire an attorney, right?
Right.
I mean, no issue there. Other than that, you can file a complaint with the state attorney general, although she notes that neither Attorney General Ashley Moody nor her predecessor have prioritized the enforcement of wage and hour violations. And in fact, from 2011 to 2016, Florida failed to take a single action against any
employer to enforce wage and hour laws. That means if we are to believe Florida's politicians that between 2011 and 2016, there were just simply no employer violated the law with respect to minimum wages.
Wow.
So, really crazy. But a records request showed that actually the Attorney General's office did receive 29 complaints from 2016 to 2019 and took no formal action, therefore recovering no money for the Floridians who went the step to file a complaint with the Attorney General. Wild. In comparison, the state of New York fielded 6,000 complaints in 2017 alone. It's really, really wild stuff here.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of government they want, right? This is the kind of government that they create, one that does not do anything on behalf of working people. And so when they come to us and say, well, we need to cut taxes, we need to cut government because government's broken, a lot of people are going to be receptive to that because government is broken in many ways in their lives. And so this is a great example of this, where you can have bosses in Florida cheat you on your wages, and what the hell is going to be done about it?
Nothing.
And, of course, the Attorney General, I would imagine, is probably a lot more interested in her campaign donors than, workers who are getting screwed over, $1 an hour.
Right.
$1 an hour that makes a big difference in their life, but would be meaningless to the wealthy oligarchs who actually run
stealing
stuff.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's credit to McKenna Schuler for this good reporting. Really appreciate that. But yeah, this is the sort of government that the far right wants in this country. One that can uphold corporate power and exploitation. One that drives wedges in between people through oppressive policies and through appeals to bigotry. It's disturbing, and I hope that workers in Florida can organize and start to, really counter this trend, because Florida has moved in the wrong direction. And there's a lot that needs to be done there. So I really hope that the workers there can build a movement that can really start to make progress.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.